Good morning, distinguished speakers and honorable guests. It's my honor to have here to give a speech. I will share some of my findings for the final question, what is the Tao of innovation? From experience and the future of China, can we find some basic science of innovation based on the research and fact? So China right now is undergoing a huge change of the shift of the whole country, not only just in economy, but also in the culture and technology. If you look at this, what are the drivers of this huge change? If you see the increase of the GDP share in terms of per capita buying power in China, only China and the rest of Asia, we are growing. And the United States is going down. Japan is going down faster. So if you look at longer history, in 500 years old, China was once the #1 in terms of share of the market in the history. That was in 1820s, the Qing dynasty. Just 20 years after the peak time, China happened the World Opium War. And then terrible things happened. We're going down. The worst year was in 1960s, when there was 20 million people died for short of food. Then China realized innovation is the only way we live. So we changed our whole structure of political, and also we changed our mindset of thinking. So if we look at the future, probably in 5 years, China will become the #1 in the economy as a purchasing power. So that's a history trend. If you are investors, there is only 5 companies on the market. So which one will you invest? So smart investor will consider this. So China's innovative economy development model is unique. Some people said maybe China is use the low price strategy to drive the economy. I think it's only part of a story. It's not the whole story. Right now, our increased speed is 3 times faster than the United States in terms of growth. But how come a country has 1.3 billion people, a huge, so big company, they're coming so fast? It's like an elephant can fly in a very fast way. So in the old saying, you say China has a China price strategy. There are 3 parts, I call it LLE model. First L is land, second is labor, the third one is export. So the major core of this model is energy and resources, because China will ship out our low-cost human resource and energy at a cheap cost. So we have a competitor in the export market. We become very big as an export country. That strategy worked, but right now, this community cannot sustain, it's just vanished. Because Chinese, we have many young people before. Right now, the young populations are decreasing very fast. Because as you know, we have a very strong family planning policy enforced in 1980s. Then, before, our population, in terms of man and woman share of the population as a pyramid, and then become like a pine tree. And then we have a policy enforced. Right now, it's more like a mushroom shape. As the only economy in the whole world, as 1.3 billion people, has a mushroom kind of structure of population. So as you might know, in the future, China has more senior people than young people. That economy is very different from other side. So if you go to China, you'll see many factories as the old-fashioned way has gone. It has been shipped to the other countries, as Thailand and Philippines and Vietnam. And China, the biggest factory in China, has 1.2 million workers in China. It's Foxconn. They are the #1 makers of iPhone and iPad in China. They are enforced robotics to change their working power. So there's a huge change here. So the China price model will not sustain in the future. And we have realized this about 10 years ago. I have published a book called From China Price to China Value. I sent this book to the central government and help them to change the strategy to move the strategy from the price-based into the value-based. So what are the value-based? From this you can see, the value is not just about money value, it's about the people value. So you look at it in last year, the China has make more money in the market. That is not just to bring the fortune, it's to help Chinese industries to still have the competency of lower price to ship out. Because the industries need time to shift and transform their working structure. If you see, there was a huge change of the currency rate in 2015. In the 1 week, there's a huge change. Why? Because government had the policy to really bring these strategies implemented in every side of the whole country's strategies. And also, in internet bubbles are very similar as the United States about 10 years ago. If you look at when I was in the United States about 15 years ago, there was a huge bubble called NASDAQ. They burst, and the NASDAQ ratio, the rate has decreased a lot. But in China, our stock market, and in 2015, we have realized a very similar kind of pattern. Why? Because many people, they just didn't remember. The value is not just coming from the financial sector. It should come from the real service sector, the real manufacturing sectors. So sunset industries, some of them, they didn't realize this, cannot avoid environmental and the financial crisis. Right now, China has enforced the very rigorous policy to punish the environment pollution industries. Many mine companies, many oil companies, they go bankrupt. So that will still come here. So China's strengths and drawbacks of the innovation is very clear. We have a big market size. We have a relatively good macroeconomy infrastructure and trend, but we are short of innovation, and especially for the higher education and training. This is also very compensated with Israel's economy, because Israel has really good technology and innovation, and also a relatively advanced education systems. So we'll see the new drivers of China value competency. Still, I call it new LLE model. It's not the land, but the learning. And also, it's not about the labor, it's legislation, and also environment. So inside the core is not resource anymore, it's not energy anymore, it's an innovation, talents, and trust. It's culture. So the World Economic Forum, China Council, we just published a report talking about ecosystem of innovation in China. We found from the 3 parts, one is R&D and education parts. The second one is industry systems. The third one is public administration parts. These 3 parts, they collaboratively improve the Chinese innovation ecosystems. So in the last 5 years, we have a huge reform to change the whole strategy into an innovation-based strategy for the whole nation. So things are getting better. But still, education is a major drawback of innovation system in China. In our survey done by World Economic Forum, we found that many companies, startup CEOs, they complain because education, innovation, and culture has less support to the innovation they have done. It's very limited. So that is one of the major drawbacks we have found. So China is enforcing the 4 layers collaborative innovation. We are not doing just bring the industry manufacturing power. We are doing the systematically from the 4 layers concurrently to improvement. The first is management innovation for the business side. The second is institutional innovation by the government side. These 2 sides, these 2 layers has created the China price competencies in the last 30 years. But also, we have to unleash our grassroots and cultural innovation power and technical innovation power in the next 10 years and create value competencies for our country. Give you some examples. Huawei, the company just moved into the cell phone business in the last four years. With 4 years' time, it becomes the #1 in terms of cell phone shipment in China. They have beat both Apple and Samsung, become #1. This company right now is the #1 in terms of high-tech patent filing application in the whole world. For the single product as a microphone, this used to be a communication equipment company. They just invest $1 billion for certain mobile phone in Shanghai and have 10,000 engineers doing the research together in Shanghai. So it's very tough and very strong innovation power for Huawei. Second, for the management innovation in China. Internet have been well used in China, has been very popular. Every person have cell phone and online payment systems, has Weixin. So one of my students, this gentleman is just a 25 years old young gentleman in my class. He has idea in the class to have the sharing back service. Just after 18 months, 1 year and a half, the company has started, and after 1 year and a half, it's become the #1 bike sharing company in the world. It's called OFO. So this guy is just 25 years old. The gentleman who has invested Facebook and invested in the DD Mobile, DD Traffic in China and Xiaomi, all they want to invest to him. However, people have realized this idea is just coming from the classroom, from my class. So if you see from this, to make things simple, 1 yuan renminbi can ride a bicycle for once. We do not use the high-tech stuff, just use very simple technology solution. We change the ways people use the traffic. Okay? Also from the institutional innovation systems, Shenzhen, it shows the change in 15 years, huge change from the Shenzhen city. The speed is very fast. In 30 years period, Shenzhen from a small village, small fishing village, become the capital of innovation of China. It's a miracle in the history of human. So China is not just the emulator, just a copy from United States, from Western. We have our own Tao of innovation, the culture innovation. The leaders of China, Ms. Deng Xiaoping, and right now the leader, Ms. Jinping, they told, no matter it's a white cat or black cat, as long as it can catch mouse, it's a good cat. Well, very practical. And cross the river by grabbing the stones. And Xi Jinping mentioned, the whole society must have belief in law. So if you have millions of cats which can catch mouse and also which can cross river, which believes in law, it can win for sure, right, in the future. So every year we have 7.6 million graduate students coming from university go to the job market, similar as the population of the whole country of Israel, right? But the problem is that there's a huge gap because the traditional education model destroys their innovation drivers. They just doing the text and they cheat in the exam and they hate knowledge and books after getting recognition. It's terrible. That's we have this policy, this program. We use internet and AI or cognitive learning systems to change these sluggish students into innovators. So we call it the first generation of education is called input content. Right now in PKU and in many universities in China, in my class, we use the 4G, the fourth generation. It's called intelligent capital kind of way of learning and innovation. So we have changed our classroom into innovation workshops every day. So if you look at this, Einstein, which is a famous Jewish scientist, he mentioned, education is what remains after one has forgotten everything he learned in school. So we have used the wrong way of teaching students for a long time. It's just to teach students by book reading. It's wrong. Because every student in my classroom, they have cell phone in hand. They know more than the professors once they have the cell phone, right? They can search. So our thing is that we use the 4G. 4G is called empty students, and with the creative knowledge, the students have to create in the class and better knowledge. Right now, we have this implemented in many universities, colleges, and even in the middle school. In the school, the students coming from 14 years old to 60 years old, they all use this new method to learn. They use the online platform, mobile apps, and also artificial intelligence backend analysis system to learn together. It's formed a kind of community of work, collaboration, of innovation. So our goal is in the next 5 years, we want to bring this methodology to more than 10 million students and talents in the whole country. So we want to have this new initiative here. We want to have American, China, and Israel. We are the leaders of innovation in the whole world. We should form together and help other countries. So in Shenzhen, Beijing, Silicon Valley, and Tel Aviv, we can have the joint platform as open platform for international innovation institutes. I have talked to the mayor of Shenzhen and Beijing, and I want to still have the connection with Israel. We can have the new CAI model. So we can build an innovation academy for the whole world. To summarize my talk, what is the top of innovation? First, not to pursue low price, but to create high value. Second, in terms to create value, you have done 3 things: collaboration, act, innovation. Not just a talk, we need to action. We need a real execution on our strategy. From the last, in terms to do innovation, we need to follow the God, not the gold. Right? We need to have the belief there is real truth we need to find, and we need to collab, and we need to share our value together. So thank you for your time. And there's a famous saying for Talmud: he that gives should never remember. He that receives should never forget. I will never forget we have learned today, and I hope, thank you for giving us a lot of insight in the InnoGax conference, and hope to see you soon in China. We can work together and even innovate together. Thank you very much.